Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Campaign Terrain. I'm your host, That Guy Cross. This is the basement. You're always welcome. If you're coming for the first time, glad to have you. If you're coming for the 100th time, glad to have you. As y'all know, my returning viewers are called my campaigners. Love to have you here for the campaign. And yeah, tonight I'm going to do something I have been planning to do for a long time. I'm going to get to work on creating a ship. I have built ships before, but years and years and years ago. And they were like one layer. They were like the top, and that's it. This one I'm going to have two sub layers, and technically there's a third, but I'm not building that because it'll be below the water line anyway, so nobody's ever going to play on it, etc. I am actually designing this, I think, so I can have all of them lift off and play the one underneath. I don't know if I'm going to make that full height. If I do, it's going to be smaller than my buildings normally are. My buildings are normally a 3-inch story. On this, I'm going to have, I think, a 2.5-inch deck total. But that's only going to be, English cross, that's only going to give me about a 2-inch clearance because the deck is going to be lifted a little so that the top part will sit on top of the one below it. They're not going to nestle perfectly. They're going to nestle into each other like the Russian nesting dolls, which name I cannot remember. Matryoshka? That's probably wrong. I apologize if it is, but you know what I mean. The little nesting dolls. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan for tonight. Oh, Mrs. Lynn, hello. So, I am going to be working on just some generalities. I'm going to be working off the top of my head, just starting some things. I'm going to build most of this boat out of either cardboard and wood pieces or mostly out of foam core instead. And that's going to come down to whether I decide that it will be better to actually try to curve little wooden pieces to match the cardboard and clad the cardboard in the wood, or if it'll be better to put a wood grain in the foam core and then make the foam core look like planks and do it that way. If I do it that way, that's going to be simpler, but I'm not sure it'll come out looking better. But I'm the only one who will ever care. If I do it that way, just know it's going to use a lot of foam core. Now, foam core is only $1.25 a sheet at the $1.25 tree. It's only about $2 a sheet for the cheapy stuff at Walmart, and Walmart has some nicer stuff. And then, of course, there's the art fair stuff that's, the art store things that are like, $9 a sheet. So just be aware that if I do it the foam core, or if you decide to go the foam core route, it's going to use a lot. It's probably a whole ship's probably going to use at least 2 sheets, maybe 3. So $3.75 or $27 if you're getting the expensive stuff. Yeah. The cardboard's not much cheaper either if you're having to buy the wood you clad it with. If you're going to, you go and get a, $6 coffee in the morning and you grab all of their coffee stirs at once if they have the wooden ones, then this project could come out really inexpensive if you do it all in, absconded with stir sticks. I am not suggesting that you go swipe all the stir sticks, but we are building a ship, and if you want to call it a pirate ship and say it's built with pirated stir sticks, that's on you. Yeah, so I'm about to jump right into this. As ever, I'm going to have to move to the side camera, which will blind y'all if I turn the light on. So I got to move move to that camera and then turn that light on. That'll be in just a second. Meanwhile, another thing about lighting, I have changed not only this one, watch out, that one, which I think I've talked about before. I changed it to a different color. It gives me a different tone, and it's not glaring in my face. This remote also controls this one over here, and I can make it dark over here or less creepy over here. But I can also change that one's colors if I need to. But it's so dim when the color's on that you can't really tell. So let me know going forward. Y'all like it lighter over there so it looks less creepy, or would you rather have it like this so that more of the focus is here? Personally, I like it on. I think it makes the entirety of the space look more inviting. But again, let me know. comments down below, or come to the Discord. Please, please, please come to the Discord. I am always posting little things there, mostly humorous, but many about crafting as well. And I would love to, I like to share information with people and share motivation with people. And I do that here, but I also do it on my Discord. So hit the Discord down below. Two other things I will show you in just a second after I switch the camera. But first, as always, going to cover the Patreon patrons. You could be one. So, but right now I have 5 of them, and I'm going to go through them in order and just a brief description. Now, DC helps me in person. Not only does Digital Calibrator provide financial assistance, but also comes over and helps with some of the technical issues like sound and audio. I'm also working on that role-playing game I've told you about, and DC is going to come over and help me with that actually tomorrow. So baby steps. I'm keeping every day's progress on that. So that's cool. Patrick Walther, long-term supporter of the channel. Super duper appreciate it. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. Lisa and Carl from Carl Make Stuff and Kim from Questboard Terrain have started a second channel for those last two and a new one, or the first one ever for Lisa. And they are doing live stream chats and interviews with other crafters that come in and get interviewed. And those happen now on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern American time. That's 1 p.m. West Coast. What's that? Pacific time. I think it's called Pacific. I don't know. I've never lived in that time zone, so I forget. So very excited. The first episode was very cool. Had Michael from Nat One Videos and Zane Morgan from Zane Morgan Crafts. Nat One Videos is a YouTube channel. Zane Morgan Crafts was, but I don't know if the channel's still up. He hasn't posted any videos in a long time, but he's still crafting. Solo Nick has 2 channels as well. One is called Solo Nick. That's where he does the crafting like what we do, minis and terrain and things like that. And a second one called, I get this wrong every time, I'm going to go Climbing Moss. I'm almost positive. And that one is, recently he went to a concert and posted some footage from that. It's his About Town, getting out and about channel. So that's kind of cool. And then there's Mia Geek. And the Mia Geek does not have a YouTube channel, but is on Twitch as one of the regular contributors to Shadows of Arconia. So they get together and play games, different kinds, cyberpunk games, medieval games, etc., tabletop role-playing games. And you've seen them. You watch people play games. That's the thing. So that's all of those. Now let me switch to this other camera and then turn that light on. And then I got 2 things to show you. One of these days I will figure out how to get this light switch close enough where I don't have to get up to get to it. But so far, that has not happened. Radio. First, I have a new keyboard. It's not a new keyboard. I actually refurbished this keyboard. I took this keyboard apart, moved parts around inside, found out where there was a bad connection, fixed that, and I have resurrected a keyboard that is old enough to vote. But now, no cords. I can do things from wherever, so that's very exciting. That doesn't mean much to y'all, but it does help me behind the scenes. Like, share, and subscribe. I always forget to say this. I always forget, and then the last 6 weeks in a row I've remembered. But I set this little sign out there. Please share, like, subscribe, and comment. After this video is over, please drop down to the down belows and leave some comments. That seems to drive the algorithm. So put that to the side. Somebody was asking how I keep things clean. They actually were asking how I get paint off of my mat. I don't paint on my mat. I always paint over a multi-layer piece of cardboard where I lay it down and I use those as my painting surfaces. Y'all have seen me use those on videos. That's how I do that. And basically, I just never get paint on this. If I do, I try to wipe it off immediately. If it is acrylics, now, I know better than to put oil paints, which I rarely use anyway, on here. Because if I try to use a white spirit or anything like that on here, it takes the... that's actually what happened. Oh, you can't see that. That's actually what happened here, where there's parts of my dots missing because I got the chemical on it, and it, sorry about the shaky cam. Let's come back over this way. Okay, shaky cam should be stopping. That's how I did that, is I wiped it with I don't know, some chemical, and it took the paint right off it took the dots right off the top. So I don't do that anymore. And I try not to paint on mine. But somebody asked how I clean it off. And because I get grit all back in here and to the ones to the side, things like that. And so I have 2 different brooms I use, whichever one I happen to grab, or I think will fit in the nooks and crannies where various, dust bunnies live. So nothing to them. Both of these are, I think this one came from Harbor Freight, and this one is a Libman brand. They're like every grocery store and Walmart and everything else. So, so I know that some people like the behind the scenes thing. So there you go. Those are the brushes I use to keep my area clean. Alrighty. Now, if y'all are expecting great things for this ship, don't. I am going to make it so it's table ready. It'll look fine on the table. I am not doing anything amazing that nobody's ever seen before. I'm just going to try to build this one pretty straightforwardly. Here is the design motif, though. Bottom deck. Second deck will sit on top of that. I don't remember what those 2 are called. The bottom one's called the bilge. Actually, I'm not building the bilge. The bilge is under the bottom deck and would be below water line. I'm not building the bilge. The next one up is the second. No, that's the stores. The second deck is the first deck that I'm going to build is what would normally be the stores. That's long-term stuff. That's where the crews would keep hardtack or rice or whatever flour or whatever that they're going to use on an ongoing basis. A lot of people don't know this, but cargo ships, like sailing ships with masts and all that, they actually have holes all the way through where things can be lowered all the way down. So you don't have to lower it into the first deck and then run it down by hand down below. Some do. They're that small that they were like that. But I am going to have that deck hole in, not that first deck because that's the bottom deck. It doesn't need to go any deeper. But the next deck would be the crew's quarters, and the next deck up would be the what am I trying to say? The other goods that you get too fast, the port goods, the ones that you need to load and unload quickly when you come into port. So that's the cargo deck, I guess. And then the next deck above that is the top of the ship. That's the main deck. It's literally called the deck most of the time. I'm also going to create a forecastle and a poop, and those will poop deck sits in my design, in my head, is going to sit on top of the captain's quarters. And there'll be a captain's quarters, a mate's quarters, and in some ships it would be an armory. In some ships it would be the purse. And I think I'm going to use mine as a purse because in my fantasy world, there's no cannons, there's no guns, there's no firearms, there's no black powder, there's no fireworks. So I don't really need an armory where they would keep the pistols or try to keep the powder dry. So, but I may have ballistae and things like that on the decks. So later, that's later. Yeah. So 3 full decks underneath. Main deck. The main deck will have the forecastle and the forecastle, the forecastle and the poop. I don't know why it's called that. I used to know. It's not anything to do with pooping. That will all be one. So there'll be a little bit of a deck at the front, a bit more of the deck at the back. And in my ship, I will actually have a section. I'm not building a functional rudder because there's no way I could do that and have the tops and the levels come off. So I am going to build a throughway where the steering mechanism would go down. It's fascinating how those work. I'm not going to try to build one. I'm not going to design it in. It's just going to be an open passage where I know that that's where the mechanicals go. So, stores deck, quarters, the quarter deck, the cargo deck, the main deck, and the main deck will have the forecastle and the poop attached. Somewhere in there, I've got to make a way for the masts to go all the way through. Don't know how I'm doing that yet. And I got to make a way for the cargo to come all the way through on some kind of lift. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet. And I got to have a place for the mechanicals to go all the way through. I'm building a 2-masted ship for this first time. Now, let's talk scale. So y'all know that is one of my favorite things to harp on, about the fact that you cannot build a scale in minis, or it just either doesn't work because the things would be so small you can't build them, and even if you could, you couldn't see them. But also, hey JJ, glad to have you back. Hey Kim, I was just talking about you. Oh yeah, so you heard me. Excellent, good. I like the light on. I think you show better. The one over my shoulder, yes, is good. I like it. All right. So 5 decks. Technically, the main deck, the poop, and the forecastle are all one part, but they would be the fit. Yes, technically 5 decks. Technically 6, but I'm not building the one that's way down in the bottom. These little skinny, first mates or whatever, there's always the cabin boy or whatever, the skinny guy, the new guy, the tiny guy that can actually fit the bilge is that bottom deck with a gap around the side, which I am not building. And then they can literally reach around into that and clear things out or put things in if they need to. That's where the ballast goes. Ballast is literally rocks or lead shot like a cannonball. But they balance that, and so they can take that out, and then one person will pull it out of the bilge, hand it over, and they'll pass it across and put it back down, and then they all go take a bath because the bilge is nasty. The bilge is where everything runs down to. If it lands on top of the deck and gets in any of those holes, it ends up all the way in the bottom in the bilge. And it's gross. I have actually experienced this. It's disgusting. It smells brackish. It is brackish. I wouldn't stick my hand on there. I would be fine with, okay, great, thank you, and hand that to the next guy. That's fine, but I'm not sticking my hand on there. I'm not doing it. I'm no. So technically 6 decks if you count the actual bilge space as a deck, which I'm not doing that. Okay, let's see. Let's talk scale. We're talking scale. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. You're about to get a very crash course in Christopher Columbus's ships from his first voyage. We're not getting into any of that politics. We're not getting into anything before or after. I'm just talking about the boats. The boats, he was not well liked. Everybody thinks, he just went to the Queen, and the Queen said, sure, have some ships. And that is not how it happened. About the 12th time, I don't know, it's probably like the 5th or 6th time, that he went and he spoke with the royalty in his own country. They were like, Chris, get out. We told you, go. So he went next door. He went from Portugal to Spain. He was Portuguese and went to Spain, or Spain and went to Portugal. I don't remember. I don't care. I do care about the ships. I like ships. I don't care about Columbus and politics. So the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. Santa Maria has like 7 names. She's like the Santa Maria de la something. Everybody's going, yep, Santa Maria. It's good. So those 3 ships at the time he asked, and he finally got approval, were already in refit. One was there just to be like have the barnacles scraped. That's the Nina. The other 2 were just freshly out of dry dock for having things fixed. The Santa Maria was the largest, but she wasn't large, like 70 feet long. 70 feet is not a lot. Okay, that's just not. So the other 2 were actually about 60 feet and 62 feet, and I don't remember which is which, but these were not well loved and educated. Okay, the only reason we know the name of the Santa Maria is because, one, she had just been refitted. There was paperwork to go along with her, and she ended up later being sold to like 4 different countries and or trading associations. So she is well documented. The Pinta is the something. She was a brightly colored ship, and they called her the Pinta because she was painted. She technically was called by some of them Anyway, meant a painted lady. Some people weren't nice about her, but other people were fine with it. It's just a ship. Ships are just ships. Both of those had recently been repaired and or retrofitted, but they were there. They were not committed to another voyage, and they were empty at the time. And Chris got those two. He also got the Nina. The Nina is called the little girl because she was the 60-foot one, not the 62, because she was the littlest one. She was the smallest one. She's the Nina. She's the little girl. The actual name of the Nina is unknown. Nobody knows. She wasn't getting paperwork done. She wasn't. I've never even found anything that explains why she was sitting in port empty. But they did have crews, or they had crews readily available, whichever. There was no problem getting a crew. My point being, 60 feet, I build on a 1 inch equals 4 feet square. So I build on a square that is 1 inch equals 4 feet across. D&D builds on a 1 inch is 5 feet, so their ships would actually even be smaller. 60 inches divided by 48, if I'm doing my math right, is 15 inches from the back to the tip of the bow underneath the sprit, the bowsprit. The bowsprit sticks out further, but it's not counted from what I could find in the size of any of those ships. So I'm looking at a 15-inch max length. This is 12 inches across, so that's only this long. When you look at the size of that, and there were like 63 sailors on that ship, and you look at that, that was some tight quarters. They had hammocks on top of, like, hanging over, they weren't called mattresses, but basically mattresses. They're basically like prison mattress. It was just a ticking wrapped around like hay or something like that. And they had, on the Santa Maria specifically, it was noted that she slept 3 a berth. 3 a berth means there was a mat where somebody slept on the floor, and there was a hammock above them, and there was a hammock above them. And keep in mind, these were small ships, so their floors were actually smaller than the one I'm going to build in scale. And they managed to get 3 people asleep crammed into that area. Yeah, that's not fun. Now, a lot of people think that Columbus discovered America. We know that is not correct. He was not even remotely the first one to the parts. He never got to the continent anyway. He only got to the islands, but he wasn't even the first one there. They knew that the world was a globe. They knew roughly how far it was. He was just trying to find Eastern India by going west and hitting it. He never got close to India because somebody rudely stuck both of the Americas in his way. And so he got across this large current. He did, or I don't know if he did, his captains did know to follow the trade waters, which actually go somewhat south along Europe and North Africa, then come across. There's a flowing current that pushes across and then up the eastern seaboard of Central America and what would later become the United States, and then back out over and toward, not actually towards Spain, actually towards right where England and France share water. Share water now. They did not share water at the time. They were not buddies. So they knew to come down, across, and back up. And instead, what they did is come straight across because Columbus thought he knew best. So here's 3 crews who have been unemployed for a while. They're kind of stuck because their ships are being repaired. They're kind of stuck with this guy, and he almost immediately sends them into the doldrums. The doldrums is literally that spot in the middle where the stuff doesn't move. He did make pretty good time considering they didn't actually have too many problems on his first voyage. On the second voyage, he had learned to follow the waters, or his crews had learned to tell him to shut up and follow. They went follow the waters anyway. So imagine a longer than normal cruise across a larger than normal expanse of water with 3 people sleeping basically on top of each other. Yes, that seems super fun. Let's all do that. That was sarcasm in case anybody missed that. So, how am I building my stinking ship? Here's how we're going. I am going to build a deck. I'm going to use a platform to build upon. I'm going to use double corrugated cardboard. This is not actually part of the ship. This is just the base I'm building on. This will sit there. My deck that I build on top of that will then sit on top of that. That will leave this little gap here so that when I take a deck and plunk it on top, it will nestle onto the one below it. Now, here's a fun thing. Ships are never straight. They taper at the front and then they get to a widest point, and then they taper more gently off toward the back, and the back is narrower. That means that my bottom two decks are actually almost going to be tiered. Actually, the bottom one is going to be shaped like a wing, like pointy at the front and pointy at the back. The one below it is going to be pointy at the front and just a little bit wider at the back, and the one above it and the one above it. And each of those underneath, I am going to have little strips of cardboard or whichever to make them nestle correctly so that it doesn't try to wobble around on me. I am going to build my ship, the first deck, as 12 inches long. The second one will be 13 inches long. The third one will be 14 inches long. And finally, that main deck will be 15 inches long. However, I am not tapering the front of my ship. The ships are curvy and go under like this. I'm not doing that. Each one is going to be slightly smaller than the other, so it looks right, which means I'm going to have a curve. That is not going to be dark enough for you all to see it. Let's try this. I'm going to have a curve something like this, and the next deck up will not sit right there. The next deck up will this will be the top of the two decks I'm showing. The other one would then be shaped like that. You notice there's more of a gap here at the back, and I am going to create a spacer that takes up that space. So that's actually going to be really simple, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the deck below and take the deck above it and kind of press down on it. Since it will be made of foam core, it will get an impression from the wall into the foam core, and then I just flip it over, and I know where that piece won't actually be a deck. That'll just be the underpiece. I will take that, push it on there, cut it to match that, then glue that piece under the deck above it. So I have given this some thought for years. So that's where we're at. So yeah, I need to create a cardboard, and I only have small pieces in here because I didn't think to grab my larger ones, but that one's, and none of them are long enough. So first thing I'm going to do is create a larger piece of cardboard out of smaller pieces of cardboard, because I'm not going to go get a huge piece of cardboard and have to do it because I got other things on the desk. So literally what I am doing is I am taking a set of cardboard and I'm basically creating double corrugated. And my hot glue gun should be hot by now. In case anybody cares, these are from when I used to be able to afford eggs, but we don't do that anymore. I just had to check this label, make sure nobody's name was on it. It's just a what's in the package label. So I'm going to take these and put some glue here. This does not have to be special. These are just my little spacer things and will be discarded or put into my junk pile when all this is over. Okay, so that's that part, and we can take that and line that up. Look, I'm building a ship. I am. I actually got around to it. Hey, Sim Peasant. I am enjoying your it's not a wizarding world, it's a magical academy or whatever it is. Little thing you got going on your channel. By the way, Sim Peasant is a channel where Sim, that's Jess, plays a lot of really chill games, and right now has a thing with, coincidentally, The Sims, where she is aging up a character from childhood into adolescence, and as an adolescent, that one is now going to a magical academy. So that is a thing that is happening. And it's pretty fun. I've been enjoying it. I'm still feel that some of those magical spells are a little sketch, and stuff, but I'm not the first person to say it, and I don't play The Sims, so it's not really my place to get involved. I don't have a horse in that fight. You know what I mean? Okay. I don't know why I'm being so careful with the glue when I do not need to be. I completely overuse glue. It's my hot glue. It is my absolute. It costs me more than anything else I do. Well, not anything. I mean, I bought a laser and a computer and all that other stuff just to do this shtick. But yeah, I am frivolous with the glue. This is what I'm saying. Okay. Now this one I kind of got to hurry because this I'm doing twice as much glue on because there's no real other way to do that. So we are done with that first layer. Now I could have gone and gotten some of my double corrugated from the other room, but it's all in these big sheets and it's just not worth the effort. So now we are going to take this and use this as a rough center line because it's pretty straight, and straight enough is plenty good for this project. There's going to be so much slack and give in this that it's really not going to matter. Okay, so that's my center line, which on a ship is called the center line. I know they have all these weird names for everything else, but that's a thing. Anyway, okay, 12 inches. I said, yeah. All right, let's start. Yeah, I've already got an end. Let's go from there. Now I'm super right-handed, so I'm actually not going to cut it this way. I'm going to cut it this way because that way I can do it with my right hand. People say that. Never mind. That joke's inappropriate. Let's see. Now I have horse fighting. Yeah, I'm one of those weird. I'm that weird guy that always says I don't have a horse in the fight. I know. I also say that's the way the cookie bounces, and other stuff like that. I'm silly that way. I also, and this one I didn't even realize until somebody pointed it out. I'm one of those people that says, I'll go, number one. No, I'll say A, B, third. Yeah, I'm weird. The guy making a cardboard and foam core ship on the internet is weird. What? Craziness. In case y'all didn't know, I'm a little weird. Coincidentally, on Carl Makes Stuff's channel this morning, not this morning, this afternoon, this morning if you were in California, he had on 3 guests, and they talked about Corsairs and other piratey, not piratey types in the Mediterranean. That was a sheer coincidence because I've been planning on working on the ship this week for almost a month now. So it's just funny that the day that they're talking about sailing ships and sailors using ships, I'm building a sailing ship. But it was pure coincidence, I promise. I would like to say, oh yeah, I totally whipped up an idea just on that one video I saw this morning and went and no, I plan a little ahead. I'm not quite that spontaneous with my builds. Usually, little stuff like rock piles and stuff like that, I'm good with. Okay. Yeah. Come on, all the cardboard is rolling away from me. Now, I could keep all this cardboard if you knew how many cardboard offcuts I have, and cardboard's recyclable. So I'm gonna regret it later and be like, oh man, that thin piece would have been perfect for it. Yeah, I have too much cardboard. I'm good. Okay, now that's relatively straight. Doesn't need to be on the sides. And I need to cut this to 12 inches. And I'm going to start from here. I know. Close the knife cross. Okay. So I just realized my camera's pointed a little high. So shaky cam again. Come on. There we go. All right. Now that I've got it kind of squarish, it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Okay. Now, what did I do with my straight edge? I just had it. Okay. Now, where's my 12-inch mark? There it is. That. And wow. I can't even see that line anymore. There it is. I cut really heavy. I'm really heavy-handed both in drawing and cutting. As you can tell from over here, I gouge into my cutting board all of the time. I don't end up painting on it, but I gouge it up so much that all of my little markered lines and dots have disappeared from certain areas. So sometimes it is a little difficult for me to line things up. I can switch it over, but the other side is the opposite of this. So instead of dark gray with little white lines, it's white, cream colored with gray lines. And I'm not sure how that would look on camera, but I may give that a try one of these days. Okay, so this, oh, come on now. I don't know if you can see that, but the tip of my blade is actually worn down. Now I can snap these off, but I tend to sharpen them, which won't actually do any good here because that sharp point of the blade, edge of the blade is gone. There's no way I'm going to be able to make that sharp. So what I'm going to do is switch to an entirely different knife, because if I snap these off, this keeps getting shorter and shorter, and then I can't get through the longer pieces of foam that I need to, which this will still work for. So it's one of those things. Now, when I say I sharpen them, I have a sharpener that's one of these diamondy ones. I got this really inexpensively. It was on sale. It's got a smooth edge and a rough edge, coarse and fine or whatever it is. And these are super, super great for, I spent, I think, $9 on this, and I have gotten all of that $9 back just by buying less blades. So if you get a chance to get a diamond blade, they come in ones that look like this. They come in some that are round, that look like just sticks, whichever. If you can get a diamond sharpener for your blade, it will pay for itself. That said, I can't sharpen that particular blade any further for what's going to help with this. So I'm switching to the entirely different knife, which does have a sharp point on the end. And then I am, and a much sharper blade. And we shall do this again. I only need to make a couple of passes on this with this, and that gets it deep enough to where I can move the straight edge out of the way, and then follow that through. This can be used for something else later. All right, now I know that this is my center line, and I know that I need this to, I didn't realize it was going to be quite that close. That's all right. That's actually so close it needs more glue because I didn't get the glue to the edges. So let's just split a line under there. I forgot I have this on high heat because when I'm doing a lot of glue like that, I like to have it on high heat so it can put more out faster, but usually I keep it on low temp. High temp. Yeah, it's high temp glue. Anyway, switching that back to the lower. And I know that this is my center line and I want this to go like this, which means that if I use this side, all I'm going to have is this little piece. And so that's probably going to fall off, which is why I glued it. It'll be fine now. So I'm going to let that cool for just a second while I read the chat and see what y'all are talking about. So right now it says, ahoy, nice. Sim Peasant, or JJ talking to Loosely Collected. Hey, Loosely Collected, good to see you again. Saw you earlier today. You got to see Carl's thing as well. I swear I am not making shit because of Carl's stream today. I was already planning on doing it. Look, I even shut my knife this time. Let's see. Party to the party, cooking on the grill outside. Oh, that's nice. That's awesome. Grill food is yummy. Yes, indeed. Make me a burger medium. Oh, man, I has had such a craving for a burger, and my housemate finally got me one like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, yes, burger is good. Now, unfortunately, not really unfortunately, I am probably going out for Asian food tomorrow, but I've really been dying for a burrito or a chimichanga. So, yeah. I don't know how I can make that work at the Asian buffet. All right. What are you putting in your cookies to make them bounce? Yeah, well, I don't know. We're weird in Texas, I tell you what. Okay, now I got to figure out how wide I want the lower deck to be. And I know I need to know the top deck, the next deck, and the bottom, so that they all stack. And each one's got to be, give or take, an inch smaller, so it's a half-inch in on each side. That will give the impression, sorry about bumping the mic there, that will give the impression that the ship tapers on the way down. When actually, in fact, the walls are actually straight. They're just staggered. Not straight, vertical. So 15 inches, and I do not remember the beam, that's the width of the Niña Pinta Santa Maria, and I'm actually building somewhere in between the Pinta and Santa Maria's scale anyway, or right around Santa Maria's scale. And I don't remember their beam off the top of my head. My stats for all of my ships and stuff are upstairs, not down here in the basement. Let's make that it's already 48 feet long. Let's make that 20 feet wide at the widest point. No, let's make it 16. If you're wondering why I'm doing it in increments of 4, it's because I build to a 1 to 48 scale, give or take, and so each inch is 4 feet. That's why I'm doing it in 4-foot increments. So if I'm at, wow, I didn't need to do 2 of these at once. I could have done it in one for the bottom one, because it's actually going to be that narrow. So I need to then, well, let's start by taking these apart, because I'm not going to need both of them. And in case y'all haven't figured out, this is going to be an ongoing project for several weeks now. Just be expecting to see ships. I am doing that video. Somebody, I think it was Solonic, asked me to do a rubble pile video, and that will not might, not could be, sometime soon, blah blah blah, will be my next edited regular video, not live. That is coming as well. So I'm going to turn this around, because you mentioned the right-handedness. Line that up there, because I know this edge is straight, because the edge of the cardboard factory from the box I got it from is perfectly straight. So that's good there. Then I want it 4 inches wide to make it 16 feet, which I will do thusly. And I can see the little white line here, so that's good in there. And there's all kinds of jokes that can be made about white lines, but that was never my I'd rather be relaxed than hyper. Let's leave it at that. If you know what I'm talking about, you know, and if you don't know, you don't. Now, a couple of viewers, at least one of the viewers that's online right now, I know for a fact knows what I'm talking about, because they and I have had conversations about our past foibles and transgressions. So you know what I'm talking about. This knife is not as easy to keep against the edge, the straight edge, when the cardboard tries to push the blade around. But again, I'm not trying to be stupid accurate with this. I am trying to get close enough. Maybe I am trying to be stupid accurate instead of smart accurate. Okay. Oh, did I mention I'm building interior walls and all that other fun stuff for this? Yeah, that'll be super fun. Anybody ever asks? Cross thinks Cross is dumb. Not on most things, but when it comes to builds, I'm always over-engineering. Why just engineer when you can over-engineer? Okay, so oops, I mean to do that. Oh, I'm gluing off camera because I'm a professional. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. Okay. Glued it. Instead, it glued it to my. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's all fine. This is fine. This is fine. Okay. Now, I want to find my center line. That's called the keel line or the center line. I need to find my keel. I need my keel to stop moving. Stop it! I keel you! I don't know if he's still popular. I know that the comedian that says that joke is less popular than he used to be. Okay, now, for this one, I almost grabbed my knife. I don't want my knife. I want my pen or a pencil, either one. Pen shows up better for y'all. Okay, that's my center line. Now, you're thinking to yourself, well, how are you going to get that even across there if you're doing that? I am going to use paper, right? Craziness. I know, craziness. I need to go grab some paper, but yeah. Then I'm going to use it. I'm going to get the paper, then I'm going to use the paper, and all of the paper shall be used. Okay. This is some really flimsy, crummy paper, but I use this for all sorts of stuff. So even after I've used it, I will then reuse it because this will get wadded up and put inside of rock formations and things like that. For anybody just tuning into the channel who has no idea what I'm talking about, not real rock formations, miniature gaming rock formations. Okay, I need this to be 4 inches wide at least, but I need to know roughly how wide it is. So what I'm going to do is put that at 24 and go to at least 20. In this case, I'm going to go to 19. And in case you're wondering what the numbers mean, I mean on my cutting board here, there's numerical markadoos. That's right, markadoos. I told you I use weird words. Ooh. Cuts through that like a razor knife through paper. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Now, this needs to be... I keep needing the straight edge, but it's always in my way when it's... Shut the knife, Cross. When it's... when I'm not using it that exact moment, and then I turn around and I put it back on the hook, and then I have to turn around and I have to get it back off the hook, and yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's all a thing. Okay, there's a hole in this paper. I'm trying to avoid that in my patterning here. There's a hole in the paper, dear Liza, dear Liza. Wow, that doesn't want to cut at all. Because my table is not as rigid as it could be, I built it to be a little bit lighter weight on top, which is funny when you look at the frame being all made out of 2x4s. I needn't have bothered, but I then sometimes have to account for the curvature when I'm cutting and marking, or not in that order, marking then cutting. Okay, now close the knife cross. As I said, this needs to go here as my pattern, or technically on this side because, well, I'm a professional. Now I'm going to take this and fold it roughly in half. The edge doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is now that I folded it, I now have a straight center line. Anybody who has ever tried to make a Valentine heart out of construction paper or anything like that knows exactly what I'm about to do next. So I know that this needs to be a foot long, which I have already measured it. I know that this needs to be no wider than 2 inches, which is, I'm about to mark. My uncle one time made a joke about my relative named Mark. I have a relative named Mark. And one of the other kids, I was one of the young kids at the time, one of the other kids kept calling Mark and saying, hey, Mark, hey, Mark, hey, Mark. And my uncle said, stop calling for Mark. You sound like a dog with a lisp. Because that is the kind of humor my family likes to enjoy. Okay, I really need a grease pencil. And I do not, oh God, they're 6 feet away from me and I have 2-foot arms. Alrighty, so I'm going to mark here. I am going to mark here. That's roughly. Okay, and here I can get it more exact. Now, I'm going to take this piece, and now I know not to make this piece wider than that line. Let's try that again. I think this pen is dying is really the issue. Back to the pencil. Sorry if y'all can't see the pencil line. Oh, it showed up that time. Sometimes the pencil line completely disappears in the light. It gets reflective and it just disappears. Okay, so that is my shape, my pattern. Now I need to actually make the pattern. I am going to go about, this is just estimation, 60% of the way to the front and make a little mark. That is going to be my widest point. I know that this piece is going to be entirely teardrop shaped. And so I am going to then take that, and I don't really have anything I can use as a French curve right here. So I am going to eyeball this. I am going to take this, and I know that it needs to come all the way to this point from here. And I am not going to do that in an entirely straight line, but I'm going to get pretty close to straight because, well, it's just easier. It does need a curve to look, shippy. So this is the aft. And this will be the bow. Yes, it's pronounced bow, not the bow of the ship. It is the bow of the ship. Been watching a lot of manga recaps, which several of y'all already know I'm into. And the AIs that they use for the voiceovers are hysterical. Every time somebody goes to bow to somebody, they say they bow to them. And every time they say they drew their bow, they say they drew their bow. It's quite funny that they get it exactly backward like every time. Okay, so that, I don't know how well y'all can see that, but I can see that perfectly fine. That's my ship. This is the front. This is the back. This is called the bow. This is called the aft. Which is funny that this is called the bow, but there's a piece that sticks out of the front of ships like this, and that's called the bowsprit. I don't know why it's pronounced bowsprit, but I don't know why forecastle is abbreviated foxle either, so whatever. All right, now I want to take this, and I should have picked some less wrinkly paper, but that is okay. So I'm going to end up having to cut this with a knife. I really would like a roller cutter, but I don't have one downstairs because trying to hold the 2 layers, I would need a third hand to hold the paper in place while I use the scissors on it. I was going to use the scissors. You notice that I'm right here to hand, but not going to work for me. Holy cow, I've been babbling for an hour. All right. Got about another half hour or less in me, and then we will have I will at least have the first basis for my first deck handled. Okay. That is close enough, as makes no never mind. And we'll then take that, lay it flat again. And come on now. Okay, there we go. These piece go into the scrap because I will reuse those. I know I just threw out cardboard earlier, but there you go. Okay, now this should be relatively symmetrical. And ships move and fold anyway on their own, so I'm not that worried about it. Now, I know that I've already drawn a center line here, so I need to I make sure that my center line matches here and my center line matches there. And I am going to do that with the glue that I forgot to get. I am going to do that with what we in America call a glue stick, and my friends in the UK call a Pritt stick. But that's one of those generic names. Like Pritt is the brand that makes, well, Pritt sticks, I guess. That in the center? No. That's in the center. I know that one is. Yep, that one's dead on. This one is. No, actually, the one that looks off is the one that's on. It's close enough. It's close enough. I don't care. It's close enough. So I'm going to take this and my not at all Pritt stick. Okay, okay. Now these ones, I did it again. This one is fun because the glue, if it's not entirely dry, here we go, goes on purple and dries clear. I don't care really, but it does help me. It does help me know, or does tell me, whichever one of those you want to use, where I have already applied the glue. Okay, so I have now glued my entire pattern, or will have shortly. You know, there's a guy named Crooked Staff Terrain, and he makes printable terrain. You print it out, you stick it on cardboard, you put it together, it makes beautiful stuff. It's amazing work, wonderful stuff, and he uses glue stick all the time. And I realize he has pre-made things like, so he's got the next stage ready to go, but every time he puts on glue, it looks so effortless. And every time I put on glue, I require a trip to the emergency room to unstick my hand from my armpit or whatever. So that is not. There we go. That's centered. Okay, now that is my pattern. That worked amazingly well, except for all of this. That is okay. The worst thing that happens to me in life is I glue myself to an art project. I'm having a good day. Oh, now for this, I don't want the blade out too far because the flex in the blade this way. Notice I'm not touching the edge for the people that give me grief over my knife. This knife gets a little wiggly, so I don't ever like this to extend it out that far. That's what she said. Yeah, yeah. Okay, come on now. I know you can get through this. You're definitely. Oh, I'm cutting through big old chunk of hot glue inside. That's why. I wonder if the scissors will actually cut this. They're pretty sturdy. Not easily. I could go get like my airline shears or something like that, but that's a lot of work. I don't know why they're called airline shears. I realize that they can probably be used for cutting aluminum sheet when you're working, on an aircraft, but they were invented before aircraft were. So I'm not sure on that one. Anybody knows why they're called airline shears? Let me know. Gotta take off. Have a good one, Kim. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, the builder on YouTube. Yeah, he's amazing. His stuff's great. So if you get a chance, go check out Loosely Collect. I mean, I'm looking at your name. Go look at now I've forgotten his name. Crooked Staff Terrain. Yeah. Prick stick is an entirely different thing, and I probably I'm not monetized anyway. So I looked into that. Somebody told me, why don't you look into getting monetized? I'm like, I don't really want to give YouTube the satisfaction, but I found out that they're going to stick ads on my video whether I get monetized for them or not. Rude. So I may do that at some point, but I am nowhere near. It requires 3 things to get monetized. You have to have a certain number of followers. I'm way past that point. Thank you all. Thank each and every one of you. Thank you. And if you're not already followed, please do. Click the thing down below, hit the bell, yada, yada, yada. Excuse me. I need at least 3 videos within the 90 days. I put out 4 videos every 30 days, so I'm good there. But I need 3,000 hours of view time in a single year, and I am not even at a third of that. So no monetization for Cross. So rude. So if y'all want to all go back and rewatch my entire back catalog and get me some watch hours, that'd be great. But really, the amount of people I reach per week, me saying this is still not going to get me there. But one of these days, I might actually get monetized. But for now, what was my point? I don't remember what I was. Something about monetization. Something about numbers. Okay, there we go. That is my first pattern. That needs to sit under a piece of foam core like that, so I can make the deck out of the foam core. However, if I am going to use the foam core and I am going to make it seem like lumber, it comes out very flexible. And I don't think it's going to be sturdy enough. So what I'm actually going to do is glue the foam core to a single layer of cardboard. And I say cardboard, but cardboard means like 12 things. What I mean is single corrugated craft cardboard. Craft is K-R-A-F-T with a lowercase k, because that's named after the company that originally made it and blah, 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 not Kraft Foods. Okay, so what was I saying? Right, I need to take this and really, you're that much, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look, that much too short. On the other hand, I might be able to get this in here diagonally. Ha-ha! Look at Cross cheating with math. Thank you, Pythagoras. Okay, so what we are going to do, because as I said, this is not my deck. This is only the thing I'm using as the pattern for my lowest deck, which I am calling what I call it, stores deck. So I now need to take that and make a mark. All the way around it. And I need to cut just outside of that mark. Why outside? I'm so glad you asked. It needs to be outside so that when I am working on the thing and I'm taking the deck off and putting the deck on and sitting it on this piece, it needs to be able to clear on the sides. So what I am going to do is more accurately make this mark. And I know to cut outside of this mark. Come on now. Don't give me this. Okay. Now I need to cut just outside that mark. And then I need to glue this to a piece of cardboard and then corrugated craft cardboard, which is brown with the wibblies. Wibblies. That sounds like a gaming adventure party. Don't mess with us. We're the Wibblies. Not as scary as, like, Death's Hand or the Black Heart or whatever, but whatever. Then I need to make sure I have a piece that's big enough to cover that, which is barely, so that'll work. This is wonky. I don't know if I can flatten that or if I need to grab a different one. Yep, I need to grab a different one, but about that size. We will grab that one and be good to go. Okay, now, just outside the line, Cross. Just outside the line. This is actually my deck. I am now officially cutting a part of the ship that will be on the eventual ship. If I wanted more accuracy, which as I said, I am being close enough. If I wanted more accuracy, I would use an actual hobby knife, one of the pointy kind, but there's nothing really after that. There's nothing to follow but. Basically, but I'm not, is really where I'm going with that. Whoop. I just cut into my deck. Oh well. I do save all my foam core because the inside of foam core is XPS foam. So this can be used for rubble, it can be used for bricks, it can be used for stones, whatever. So I do keep these as long as they're larger chunks. So I have way large amount of these in a whole big 2 big old boxes. Okay, now this one I actually did to the edge, but I cut this one out far enough. I think it will be fine. And I am going to cut this one along the line, not outside. But I did make 2 lines here accidentally, and I am cutting it along the larger one just to make sure. Problem is, the way I'm sitting right now, I can't actually see the line when I get over here because the knife shadow falls directly on it. The shadow knows. I am old. All right. Okay, that's the deck of my ship, pretty much. I even keep smaller pieces like this, but if it was like just this little piece here at the end, I probably wouldn't keep that because I don't know what I would do with that. But like, I keep those for all sorts of rubble. And like I said, I am getting to a rubble pile video soon. Okay, now I need to make sure that did in fact come out close to my support. And oh, that is good. I liking that. I liking that. God, learn English, Cross. All right, so now I need to take this and peel it. All my friends in the UK are like, I wish our stuff peeled that easy. I know. This is the cheap Dollar Tree stuff. I can't help it. Okay. This stuff is 5mm thick. Paper is about a 0.5 millimeter thick. When I peel it, this becomes 4 millimeters for those of you who are keeping track. Yes, I do often in my videos go back and forth between metric and imperial. I can't help it. I mean, I could help it, but it makes sense in my head at the time. Now, when you peel the paper off, you get 2 issues. One, there's a lot of static on this. It's not going to matter if this one's heavy enough that it will override the static and won't stick to anything. But you also get this curvature, which doesn't matter because I am going to peel both sides. This side, so I peeled this side so it would get good glue adhesion, and I'm going to peel this side so I can carve little deck planks into it. In the meantime, it needs to, I'm keeping this one on here so I don't dent it up too badly because the paper does protect it some. That's where I was going with that. Okay, good. This does definitely fit on this piece of cardboard. I am not tracing and cutting the cardboard separately. I am going to glue stick this one down again. I think I'm probably, yeah, hot glue is faster, and I think it will hold better than a glue stick does. I don't have enough experience with glue sticks to know how well they actually hold. The problem is glue sticks have no gap between the layers, and hot glue inevitably will, even if I try to leave little tiny beads. So, and I keep trying to pull the whole thing off, and that's not how it works. I just need the cap off the top. Go away. Shoo. I'm tired of you. Irritate me. Don't run far. I need you in a minute. What, y'all don't talk to your inanimate objects while you're crafting? Thought everybody did that. Okay, so as long as this is still purple, I know that it's still sticky. And I can see it really well on this white paper, foam. So I just got to hold it by the edges so I don't, again, coat myself in the stuff. A little ASMR of me dragging my bracelets across the cutting mat. That's fun. Now, this foam has these little waves and divots in it, and I'm trying to put glue in those just in case I can get them to actually stick as well. But my guess is there will be gaps anyway, but not like hot glue gaps. They'll just be little air ventilation things. Okay, now close the glue for safety. Not really safety, but you know what I mean. Okay, and we're going to take that and make sure it's lined completely onto the cardboard, and it is. Okay, now this may become one of my favorite glues if it actually works for this like I am hoping. If it doesn't, well, then we're kind of screwed. Now, that is on there well enough. It does not take that stuff long to dry normally. However, foam does not let any air get to it, so it is going to take it a while. It will get some air through the cardboard, so I'm not that worried about it. But I'm going to take a chance and go ahead and cut this so I have at least one main bottom deck done before I go offline tonight. And I am just pushing the blade against the edge of the foam and just using the foam to guide the piece underneath it, because they basically need to be identical. Now, as I've said before, while I save all of my foam offcuts, I don't save the cardboard ones. I cut them small enough to fit into my little trash can below me and toss them because, well, paper recycles easily anyway. And I know that in the United States, recycling is basically a scam anymore, but I do what I can, so I'm still going to put these in the recycling bin. I can, to quote a certain space movie, I'm doing my part. Okay, that was fun. It was actually, I'm not being sarcastic, that was really fun following that little line around. This is the type of stuff where I do in crafting where there's just like little pieces of joy, and it's like, yes, this was good, I enjoyed that. Okay, so that's that. We'll take this off here at the end. Okay, like that. Cut and cut. Okay, now somewhere along the line, my point has disappeared off of my piece. I have no idea how I managed to do that, so what I am going to do is not care. That is what I'm going to do. This piece will be hidden because there'll be another little wall right here. There'll be a tiny little gap. Worst case scenario, I will come back and stick a crate or a sandbag or something in there, and you'll never, ever, ever know that. I will be the only person that ever knows that, other than, you know, all of y'all that I've told this to. Okay, so there is deck one of essentially 6. It's 5 decks, but the top one has little decks on top of it. Yada, yada, yada. I do have an Instagram. I never remember ever to post on it. I have a Tumblr, but they've been having so many issues that I don't know that I necessarily want to be on Tumblr right now. I don't really care. Yeah, these do look like something. This looks like it could be a roof or Summon Lesser Makers build. That's true. That's entirely true. And some of these double thick ones I do keep. I have a few up there that are actual regular triangles that aren't curved on one side. But for now, I am not. Sorry, Summon Lesser Maker. You're not that far from me. You're only about 3 hours away. You could drive down here and I will give you all of the cardboard offcuts you could possibly want. And see what I mean? It came loose. It's still sticky. So what I'm going to do is re-sticky it and then put this on something actually flat, like this thingamy. And then I'm going to put weights on top of this so that it will actually stickify and, or stayify, I guess, and then let that do. I was going to try to show you how I'm going to make some of the planks, but I think you understand how to carve planks in foam, and if not, well, catch me next week. In the meantime, I'm going to wrap it up once I get this on here again, and then something heavy put on top of it to hold them together. Go right along the edge, right along the edge. The edge really isn't going to matter that much because this will have a wall of foam around the entire thing. So that's a problem that will solve itself. Let's put it that way. Okay, now I'm going to start here at the point again and line that up and make sure that that fits on all the way around, which it does. Leave that flat. I'm actually going to put that on top of it just because then I need some heavy things. So we'll take water bottle, paint, decently heavy paint bottle, alcohol bottle, and you don't weigh anything. Other partially empty water bottle. And we will leave that flat. Okay, now, quick bit of information. I still haven't finished the bricks I worked on a couple of weeks ago. And if you look, sorry about the wobble cam, but if you look right over here, I still have the machine here and the foam there. I am going to get to that. but I will not be doing that on camera. I'm just going to be doing, I'll come down here one day and spend like 4 or 5 hours just chopping those into little things. And then texture bricks the way that we all do, with like tossing them in a plastic jar with rocks and rattling them around, all that. So let's put that back. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll bump this thing 7 times between now and next week. Okay, so I used to keep all of my pieces of paper, but same issue with the paper as I have with the cardboard. The recycling already does it, and it actually recycles paper, and I have oodles of paper, which I will show you when I switch to the other camera. Leave this here because I'm going to need it. Leave that there because I'm going to need it. Leave that there because I'm going to need it. Leave that there because I'm going to need it. Toss this in the trash can. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Pins normally make really great plastic tubes. This one's got a very slight taper to it. I could use things like that. So I'm not going to toss this in the trash, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this because I don't really have access to my box of plastic bits is covered. There's things sitting on top of it. So I guess for now I'm gonna leave it here, but I got to remember next week before I start trying to write with it that it don't work. So let me switch to my front camera and I will show you what I mean by lots of paper. And then I will sign off. Okay. Oh, I did the thing. Sorry, left this light on. See what I mean about it blinding y'all? All right, let me get that for you. All righty. There's actually very little light here right now. It's just that the camera picks it up so well. Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, all of that stuff on the very top right here is all paper. I have more over there and more over there. Not a lot, but that's some thicker stuff that came in a big roll. And I have laid that out and used it as when I'm working with chemicals more dangerous than paint, because I don't want anything to be left where I can get a hold of it. If I'm putting on the gloves to deal with chemicals, I use that thicker, heavier paper, but it's really cool if I'm doing like anything 1-to-1 scale, like real life scale, when I need like a rough edge, because if you peel it just right, it's layers of paper within the paper, so it will tear in properly aged patina look to the paper. Patina is not the right word, but you know, a feel. Anyway, so I've got rolls of paper, that black canister right there has more paper. And yeah, all of the stuff beyond that, where the egg crates are, that's all that kind of recycled paper. So I have all of the paper. If I ever say, oh, I'm going to save me a piece of paper, show up at my and just bat me in the head, because no, I don't need any more paper. I don't need any more paper. And for right now, I don't need any more corrugated. I got them. I got them handled. Yeah. Oh, tell you how bad I am about picking stuff up. I actually carry a little plastic specimen box thing with a lid on it, and I have been known to pick up cool looking rocks and rusty washers and little bits of wire and things like that. The place I have found the best to get them is like in the hardware store parking lot, stuff that if I don't pick it up, it's probably going to end up in somebody's tires. And so I carry the little thing around with me. I am bad about collecting items for crafting. Yeah, I have an entire shelf of nothing but rocks and stone. Way more than I. Okay, where was I? Ship. Got one deck mostly started. I will work on the. I plan on building the entire ship. Enough of the ship that y'all know what's going on camera. So next week you'll see me texture that, put planks on that. I will also make the sides of the ship, which there are called the hull, but up higher get called the gunnels. We were talking about weird words earlier. It's pronounced gunnels, but it's spelled gun whales. I have no idea what the word means or why they pronounce it the shorthand version, but it's called gunnels. For anybody who's got a pickup truck, welcome to the world of gunnels, because that's what the side of the truck bed, or if you're Australian, your ute bed is called the gunnels. So I will be building the inner part of the hull on this. The inner part will be textured on one side. The outer part will be textured on one side and will be layered onto it. For rigidity's sake, I am going to do a couple of tests this week. No, I'm not. I know better. I know how sturdy it is. There will be a third layer between it that I don't bother to texture. I am not doing any of that swooping up stuff like would actually appear on a ship. I am making perfectly horizontal flat edges on mine, and I'm dealing with the up part by putting a voxel on the ship. That's where I'm going with this. So if you've been enjoying this, I'm very glad for that. If it's inspired you to go build something, whether it's a ship or not, very excited for that. We are all in this together, whether you build TTRPG terrain, wargaming terrain, just build miniatures to build miniatures, fairy houses, doll houses, any of that. We are all in it together. And I want you to know that I love you and I feel for you because we are all doing the same thing. We all have the same kind of little squirrel in the cage back there in the back of our brains, and I appreciate that about you. Much love. This is Campaign Terrain. I am your host, That Guy Cross. You're welcome in the basement anytime you want to, in every Sunday night when I'm coming doing this. And if you actually wanted to show up, we can make that happen. But yeah. So yeah, that's all it. Big shout out to my patrons again. Please like, share, and subscribe. And please, once this video is done, refresh the page and leave a comment. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, both in real life and on the tabletop. Thank you so much for coming, and you have a great night.